Part 9 of Sabrina's origin story. So in part 8, we left off. Sabrina found out that Harvey was going to propose to her on her 16th birthday, but of course, he got eaten. And Sabrina is a mess, so she runs into the school bathroom and starts crying. And who should enter? Madam Satan, aka Miss Porter. And she's coming there to console Sabrina. And she tells her, "Oh, Sabrina, I know what it's like to lose someone you love, honey, because that's what got all this bullshit started." But then she says, "I can't help you." And Sabrina's like, "Bitch, not now. Sometimes when people cry, they just like to cry in peace. You didn't let me finish. I can help you bring Harvey back. But of course, only if you're interested." And Sabrina's like, "Now, bitch, you talking my language." Next chapter, necromantic. Meanwhile, we go over to Riverdale where Veronica and Betty are in the drama club and they're practicing for Macbeth. Of course, they're playing the weird sister. But Madam Satan interrupts and she's like, "Hey, bitches, I need you to come with me." And they fly into the forest. And at that same time, we realize Sabrina is going on trial for what she did at the dark baptism. And they make her swear on the unholy gospel, but then they also make her do 2 tests to see if she's lying. The first one is called the fires of damnation, and if she's telling the truth, she won't get burned. And Hilda and Zelda are like, "That's the puritanical. That's the shit the Puritans used to do to witches." And Sabrina's like, "It's all right, Auntie." So you should know she up to something. She sticks her hand in there as they begin to ask her questions, and nothing burns. But now in the forest where Veronica, Betty, and Madam Satan is, Veronica's hand is on fire. So then they bring the witch's needle. And if it could go through Sabrina's hand without drawing blood, she's still telling the truth. And he summons the needle. And Sabrina's like, "Okay." And what do you know? It goes through Betty's hand. And Sabrina and her aunties are found innocent. And they can't be recharged for that crime. So that night in Sabrina's bedroom, as she's finally relaxing, Madam Satan comes, breezes into her room. And first of all, ho, you too old to be sitting on somebody's windowsill like a schoolgirl. What's going on? And they fly because now it's time for Madam Satan to help her bring Harvey back. And they arrive in the forest. And this is where Sabrina finally meets Betty and Veronica. And they have, as you see, the Demonicon, which is like, I think, a spoof on like the Necromonicon. If you know, you know. And they begin to raise hell and the dead. And after they complete their spell in the circle, the candles go out, which means a spirit has left the afterlife and returned back to the mortal world. Madam Satan tells the girls to go about living their normal life, and in a couple days, Harvey should be back. Like 5 days later, the earth is broken open. In the middle of the night, there is a knock at the Kinkle's door. He is returning to his parents, and he's knocking on the door. And you know his mother and father are in a state of delirium. They're just sad. They've been up all these nights, and she's holding out hope. So when she hears that knock on the door, she's like, "It's Harvey." But the father's like, "For God's sake, he's dead. Let dead remain dead." They don't know that he's been resurrected. Now, if you know your literature and your horror history, you know this scene of the father trying to keep the mother from going to the door to let in her son who's returned from the dead is purely out of the classic iconic short story, The Monkey's Paw. If you've never read it, look it up on YouTube, listen to the audio. It's a perfect Halloween read. But he's like, "Please don't let whatever's out there in, because whatever's dead is best off dead." And you see she's getting ready to swing. And honey, she clears Papa Kinkle's clock, please, but she finishes them all. And his lights are out. Harvey's mom finally gets to the door and she looks through the peephole and she sees her son. And she's like, "Harvey, you have returned." And this isn't no typical zombie bullshit or when somebody returns from the dead, they're all like zoned out. This ain't none of that shit. Because are you guys ready for Harvey Kinkle 2.0? And the mother's so happy that she gets another chance at motherhood. And she's like, "Harvey," and you can't tell me this ain't Zac Efron. But he's like, "No, I'm sorry. Harvey doesn't live here anymore." "Okay, Taylor Swift." And she's like, "Then who the fuck am I looking at?" Are you guys ready for this? There's no going back. Dear lady, my name is Edward Spellman. And by judging by the mess on the floor, we're about to get along just fine. Edward is in Harvey's body now. Edward is back. The mom's like, "What the fuck?" It is the witching hour. And the phone rings. It is Harvey calling Sabrina. Actually, Sabrina, it's your daddy. You just don't know it yet. And Harvey's like, "I'm back. And I can't wait to see you." Edward, you're bringing a new level to father-daughter dance. Gonna do now. The fact that Edward is back in Harvey's body, he's not gonna tell Sabrina. And what Hilda and Zelda did to him, and Madam Satan's on the playing board now. And look at these hoes in the back. Part 11 of Sabrina's origin story. So now we pick back up where Edward, who is now inhabiting Harvey's body, and this is pretty much the scene where Edward, who is now inhabiting Harvey's body, is telling Harvey's parents who he really is and his origin. But since you guys already watched Edward Spellman's origin story, you're already caught up. So Edward, who's inhabiting Harvey's body now, tells Harvey's mom that, honey, I'll be back to eat you later, but I have a date with my daughter. Creepy. And he's like, don't worry, mom. I always have room for dessert. Okay, here we go with the drama. Next round, Spellman versus Spellman. Now, meanwhile, Sabrina's happy. She's at her house. She's singing. She got her man back. And she's just living the life. She is living her Willow fantasy, talking about this is the lie. Salem filled him in on how she resurrected Harvey. And even though Salem is supposed to keep her secrets, he's like, honey, not when you're putting yourself in mortal danger. And Ambrose is like, Harvey's dead, Sabrina. Who helped you? And she's like, that's my secret and I'm not telling you. And he's like, oh, there's ways around that little bitch. And she's like, Ambrose, you my favorite cousin, but don't even think about doing what I think you about to do. Start summoning the Eye of Providence, which allows you to look into somebody's mind. And he starts to see the visions of Sabrina's past and how she was doing a dark resurrection with 2 cheerleaders, a mysterious shadowy woman in the wood. And Sabrina's like, bitch, you done got too much tea out of me now. That tea is cold, but you don't want to know what tea is hot? This, bitch. And she blasts Ambrose across the room. And she's like, cousin, I know you're trying to help, but honey, I have a date to go on. And that bitch grabs her broom and flies off to Riverdale. And Ambrose is a better cousin than me, because if that was me with one of my cousins, I would have took a fireball and blasted that bitch off her broomstick. Harvey and Sabrina date is going to be at Pop's Chocolate Shop. Now, if y'all know Riverdale or anything about Archie, y'all know this is an iconic spot. She sees him and they embrace. And she's like, Harvey, it's really you. Look at the detail in this art. I love it. And he's like, Sabrina, my darling, look at you. And knowing that this is her dad, it's like, And he hugs her. Excuse me, sir. There needs to be some type of supernatural CPS, I'm telling you, for these stories. And when Sabrina goes to kiss him, he's like, certain lines can't be crossed, because, yeah, that'll be something that'll be frowned upon by the gods. And then this boy comes out, and he's like, ooh, get a room. And it's Jughead, with his cheeseburger eating ass. But when Sabrina looks at him, she senses something otherworldly. She sees in a parallel universe, this boy is like the king of the undead. This is a hint back to Afterlife with Archie, which is written by the same creators as Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And Sabrina sees herself in this alternate universe as a god. And the moment passes and they're back into their reality. And they go in until Part 12 of Sabrina Spellman's origin. Oh my God, you guys, we are coming to the final stretch. So Sabrina and Harvey walk in, where Sabrina tells them that he's been resurrected and witches exist. Little does she know, it's her daddy. However, Edward, hearing Sabrina saying that witches exist in X, Y, and Z and her owning her identity, it's giving him like the fatherly feels. Like he's like, I never thought I'd see my daughter again, and here she is taking ownership for being a witch. So Edward's thinking like, well, who helped you bring me back from the dead? But he's playing it naive and like dumbed down because he's in Harvey's body. And suddenly, Zelda and Hilda appear telepathically on each side of Harvey, and they are pissed off with Sabrina. They are like a black mom who just got a call at school while she was at work, and she has to cut out of work early to bring you home from school because you got suspended. But pretty much Hilda and Zelda are like, bitch, get your ass outside right fucking now or we're coming in. And Zelda ain't never been a bitch to play with. And Sabrina tells Harvey, stay here, because Sabrina's kind of fed up. She's like, what? It's about to go down. And she's like, come on, aunties. I know Ambrose and Salem told y'all what's... And they're like, girl, you have broke so much fucking witch law, and we were just fucking on trial, and they were just lenient on us. This is a satanic council. They're not lenient on anybody. So the fact that we got away with everything, and you want to break every law... Hilda and Zelda are like, pretty much, bitch, this is that witch privilege talk. And then Sabrina starts getting disrespectful. She's like, aunties, drop the act and show your true self. Ain't never nothing for these bitches. These bitches is like, honey, say no more. Let's get it cracking. And Hilda and Zelda are like, honey, we have come for Harvey. Now, we can either get him the nice way or the hard way. It depends on you, but we get it. Edward looks out the window, and he's like, it's Hilda and Zelda. This is the first time he's seen them since they entombed them in a tree all those years ago. And he's like, honey, all my fucking enemies are before me at once. And they really want him because they're like, before everything gets exposed. And it's like, y'all are literally using your magic in public, levitating in front of a diner in your demonic form. And Harvey peeks out of the door, and he's like, my mom already knows. You crones. But that was for Edward. And then Zelda's like, honey, let's take him and drown him in the river Styx. Sabrina's like, aunties, y'all cannot have him. So Hilda and Zelda summon dread creatures, and they pretty much capture earthbound spirits and devour them. And Sabrina's like, bring it on, witches. And she gets to cracking with her aunts and these floating squid jellyfish demons. And Sabrina hits, but she was distracted and they get fucking Harvey. And he's like, not a fucking again. Part 13. Okay, so the floating jellyfish have captured Harvey, and Hilda and Zelda begin to fly off because they got Harvey, they got the bag, and now they're out of here. And Sabrina's like, no, bitch. It is time to end this. And I guess you could say, yeah, she summoned Hellfire, but it was never said specifically in a book. But if you watch the Netflix series, this looks like the Hellfire. And Zelda's had it. Zelda's like, honey, I've been alive too many eons to deal with the melodramatics of a teenage witch. And Zelda uses her magic and starts to turn her hand into stone. And guess what happens to Sabrina? Sabrina's like, what you doing, bitch? And a hand from hell grabs Sabrina. Zelda, that's what I'm talking about. But Sabrina is a spellman. And see, this is spellman versus spellman. So when you got that fighting blood, odds 10 to 1, the next generation is going to have that fighting blood in them too. So Sabrina calls for her broom. But I bet you she couldn't call for that broom when they asked her to do some chores though. And Pop bald-headed ass is like, what's going on out there? After all this, you're just now checking to see what's going on out there? But Sabrina busts out of the stone hand and goes flying after Harvey and her auntie. And when I tell you, honey, she is flying like airplanes in the night skies or shooting stars, she's gone. And Sabrina's like, that's enough. And now they are all about to fight over a cemetery. And Zelda's like, bitch, you don't never give up. And Hilda's like, Sabrina, we are doing this for your best good. You do not know the price that will have to be paid if Harvey remains living. But of course, young love, you can't tell teenagers nothing. They always got to learn the hard way. We all did. And Sabrina's like, since them floating jellyfish want a soul, I'm going to give them a soul. And Sabrina taps into her necromancy powers. And then she summons all the earthbound spirits in the cemetery below her. And the souls start rising up from the dead. And they go up towards the floating jellyfish who like to collect souls. And the jellyfish demons are like thirsty for spirits pretty much. So as soon as they see a spirit, they want to devour it because it gives them energy. So they don't care who it is, but they'll just go after. And that distracts them where Sabrina's able to get Harvey. And Sabrina's like, aunties, are y'all ready to give up now? She's like, I am begging you. Let's not let this go any further. Zelda's like, we're tired of helping you. You're ungrateful. You're entitled. You think you know everything. So now we're not even going to warn you about what's coming next. You're going to have to answer to it since you know everything, Miss Raise the Dead. And they give Harvey back for now. And they tell her everything he does, you will answer for from now on. And the aunties return home. And they said, I hope you're ready for what's coming. And Harvey and Sabrina head home for the night. What an eventful first date back from the dead. But then Sabrina gets home and finds out the news. Part 14. Okay, so Sabrina comes into the house. Ambrose and Salem are pretty much waiting on her. And she's like, I don't really have nothing to say to y'all. Y'all went all 6'9" on me. And Salem's like, I don't care what you call it, snitching or what. As you're familiar, it's my job to protect you, especially when you're doing ignorant shit. And Ambrose is like, I know you don't want to listen to us and you don't really fuck with us right now. However, I'm going to tell you the facts of what's going to come to you, whether you like it or not. And she's like, Ambrose, let's cut all the melodramatics. What are you talking about? See, this is what kills me. A girl brings one boy back from the dead, and all of a sudden she thinks she the baddest witch on the block. And he's like, since you brought Harvey back, that means the earth is uneven. It's unbalanced. You took a soul without giving a soul. An eye for an eye. That's because your eyes be blind to the bullshit you be doing, Sabrina. You're getting all this trouble and then you have everybody else pick up the piece. And he's like, bitch, everything must be paid, cousin, including Harvey. Like, since you ripped Harvey from his grave, now you must send somebody else to their grave in an untimely manner. And she's like, nah, say what now? Long story short, Sabrina has to kill somebody who's not meant to die yet. So she has to kill somebody and giving them an untimely death, like Harvey receiving an untimely death, to balance it back out. And now Sabrina has to go all Death Note and gotta find somebody who she has to kill who doesn't deserve it. And I'm like, this is gonna get interesting, because what is this gonna do to her character and her morality? Because she has a moral compass. No matter what she does and what iteration it is, one thing about Sabrina, she's not a killer. And I love when they put characters in unfamiliar territory so they have to grow. Now, as a spoiler warning, we have officially covered, as in from last video, all the old issues up until current. Now, this is the latest issue that has come up. So if you haven't read it and don't want to watch this yet, this is a spoiler warning. This is from the issue that came out last week because they finally picked up the series after it being on hiatus for like 4 or 5 years. So after Sabrina learning that she has to kill someone, right? She's coming down for breakfast the next day. And you know how families sometimes be. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes a lot of families, they'll act, when some drama goes down, they'll act like they're in an elephant in the room. And they're all like, honey, have you figured out who you wanted to kill? And Zelda's like, honey, nice poker face, but do you know what you have to do? You know you have to kill, right? Who are you killing? Sabrina's like, I'll happily kill someone and send their soul to the afterlife if that keeps breath in Harvey. And Zelda's like, honey, you cannot bullshit a bullshitter, honey. You're no killer, Sabrina. And Sabrina's like, well, I am a half witch and you guys kill people and eat them all the time. So, it's in my blood. And Zelda's like, honey, we only kill people when we need to eat. Like a predator to the prey. You know, Zelda's like, okay, dear, have a nice day at school and do let us know who you're going to be killing. And Sabrina's like, huh, bitch, I don't kill and tell. And then this is where we find out some tea about Sabrina having to kill somebody, because Hilda's pretty much saying like, you know, I don't like you playing chicken with Sabrina and, you know, pulling her bluff card, because what if this plan backfires? So we know something about this killing thing and having to kill somebody, a life for a life, something about this Zelda's made up, because, you know, Zelda's always scheming. And Sabrina decides to skip school that day and find somebody to kill. And of course, Salem has to go with her because he's her familiar and her protector. So she transformed him into a mouse so he's not so obvious when she gets on a bus to find somebody to. And she's like, come on a little bit. But this time Sabrina's like, I'm gonna get on a quick little bus ride and we're gonna go to Chicago real fast. And it's like, why are you getting on a bus when you just have magic? Zap yourself. Meanwhile, Harvey's in his room summoning demons. You know, getting back to his old school self-care of summoning demons. And if y'all watch Edward's backstory, y'all know who this demon is. This is the shapeshifter demon who used to shapeshift into the devil at Edward's command. So people in the coven would think he was more powerful than what he really is, and that he had the power to summon the devil. But she is also the demon who snitched to Hilda and Zelda that she was impersonating the devil at Edward's best. So she's shocked to see him because she said, I thought you was banished. And Edward's like, don't worry about that, but I do have you bind to this circle. So now I have some questions for you, because she's like the gossip of the underworld. And he was like, and I have some revenge to get on you too, because of you, my sisters came after me. And he's like, who is the bitch that's helping my daughter raise people from the dead? And he's like, tell me, and your punishment won't be that painful. But you know, Edward's full of shit, so he punishes her anyway by twisting up a snake like a voodoo doll, because she still betrayed him, but she does tell him. So she's like, I'll tell you. And he's like, who? She says, Madam Satan. Part 16 of the latest issue of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that came out on October 9th. So if you haven't read the new issue and you don't want it to be spoiled, skip this video. Otherwise, continue fucking watching. So after Edward was punishing this demon who betrayed him, he's like, who is the woman who been helping my daughter summon the dead? And this lady snitches. She's like a Madam Satan, because she's like the gossip of the underworld. And Edward thinks it's funny. He's like, how ridiculous is the name of Madam Satan? How dare she? Who does she think she is? And little does he know, oh, Madam Satan's about to get up with your ass. He was like, I can't wait to meet her. I bet she works at my daughter's school. And see, Edward doesn't know that Madam Satan is his original ex that he left for Diana. Madam Satan is a new alias she went by after she went down to hell and she was stuck in Gehenna. So Edward doesn't know this new side of his ex. So Edward goes to get ready for school and he's like, bye mom, see you later. And Edward's getting ready to meet this Madam Satan, aka his daughter's favorite teacher. And so what little does he know, she's watching. Look at her, got her little face hanging there. See, something weird starts to happen because, you know, true love never really dies. And Madam Satan starts to feel like, oh, I kind of miss him. But she's still a hardcore bitch, so don't get it twisted. But with her hearing Edward in Harvey's body saying, I can't wait to meet her and get to know who this woman is, it makes her feel like, you know, the old days when they would walk together on the beach. You know that tingling feeling you get with somebody you like is like coming to see you? That's what she's like, but the great work still begins, because revenge shall be mine. Meanwhile, on the bus, Sabrina finally found somebody she can kill. She's going through the newspaper and she finds an article on this guy who in the 60s murdered like about 8 nurses. And actually, this is a true story too about this murderer. And Sabrina's like, take me to the prison, and she magically whooshes herself. Sabrina's going to the prison to see Richard Speak, who is actually a killer who snuck into I think a house where 8 nurses used to live together, and he murdered them all except one who hid underneath the bed. This is that sick bastard in real life. And Sabrina's like, since he got sentenced to death, how about I just speed along the process, because he's a shitty person. So you see how Sabrina's kind of like bending it to her will? Like, so she's killing somebody who deserves to be killed, but it's not somebody innocent. that would like change her morality or her character arc. Sabrina's like off to do some killing and arrives at the high security prison, but they ain't about to let no teenage girl see no high stake prisoner, so she goes with a disguise. She disguises herself as a special agent in the FBI's behavioral science unit, Holden Caulfield. She goes as Holden Caulfield from the iconic Catcher in the Rye. And now Sabrina's in there and she's going to end a killer's life, as she should. Part 17 of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Origin Story. This is the latest issue, so if you have not read it and you don't want spoilers, click away. So under the guise of Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye, Sabrina is allowed entrance into the jail to find the man she's supposed to kill. Meanwhile, Harvey bitch ass is back at Baxter High, aka Edward, and he's like, honey, a witch among mortals, honey, the oyster is mine. And as he walks down the hall, look at this bad bitch standing there, as she should, as she did. The reunion of a fucking lifetime. But remember, Harvey, aka Edward, doesn't recognize this as his ex, because remember, she stole that girl's face way in the beginning, especially if you watched her origin story. Then Rosalind sees Harvey, and she's all thirsty for him because, you know, she always wanted Sabrina man. And then she's jumping all over him like, oh, Harvey, I've missed you. You know what? It's funny how people only miss you when you're dead. Madam Satan sees him hug Rosalind, and she begins to walk away, but she leaves Edward feeling, because look, hips don't lie. Hips do not lie. She leaves Edward feeling lustful, like this must be the mysterious Miss Porter, aka Madam Satan, that's been helping my daughter. And Edward, aka Harvey, is intrigued, but first Rosalind's like, Harvey, I'll give you anything, we've missed you so much. And you know, she's pretty much a side dip. And these motherfuckers get it on in the janitor's closet at school. For one, not realistic, but it's a comic, so what do you expect? Number two, even though you're Sabrina's father, you're still in Harvey's body, and the fact the lengths that Sabrina went for you to resurrect your bitch ass, and you do this to her? Oh, you ain't shit. Meanwhile, Sabrina's at the prison, and she's going through the last guard to get to the prisoner. And Rosalind's like, are you gonna break up with Sabrina for me now? He's like, no, honey, you were born to be the other woman, on some Lana Del Rey shit. And he's like, now I gotta meet my daughter's favorite teacher. And he's like, Miss Porter, I presume? And she's like, who else would I be? Edward. Bitch, no, she did not just call his name out like that. Edward, this a bad bit. That's a bad bit. And he's like, well, how do you like them apples? Boy, if you don't get your fucking corny ass. Meanwhile, Sabrina's in the prison cell with Mr. Speck, because this is the guy she's gonna kill to atone for her bringing Harvey back from the grave early. She's like, pretty much, she's like, how did you get in here? She was like, I am the angel of death, here to bring the world justice. And Sabrina begins to summon a rope. And he's like, I love little girls. And then she's like, honey, here's a piece of rope. Do yourself a favor. And this nigga like, I ain't gonna kill myself. You out of your damn... Honey, I'm not gonna kill myself, not in the league. And then Salem begins to sense some otherworldly shit. And he's like, Sabrina, something is not right with this guy. I've been around long enough, and we know you have. And he's like, something demonic and malevolent is within this. And Sabrina calls the demon out of him just to find out this mass killer was possessed by a demon. And the guy is like, please kill me and put me out this misery. And Sabrina's like, oh shit, now I gotta exorcise the fucking demon. Part 18, you guys. My shirt is on inside out and I'm ready to go. If you guys have not read the newest comic that dropped October 9th, this is it. So if you don't want any spoilers, come back to this video at a later date. So Sabrina is confronting the killer, and all of a sudden Salem, because you know, like I said, Salem been around the block. He starts sensing something malevolent, demonic. The serial killer was possessed by a demon. Not in real life. In real life, he was a piece of shit, note to self. And Sabrina's being confronted by the demon. And the prisoner guy, he's like, honey, Mr. Speak is like, just fucking kill me, because I can't take this no more. But y'all know how Sabrina Goody Two-Shoes Spellman is. Now all of a sudden she know he's possessed. She can't kill him. Girl, kill him and keep it moving. And the demon's like, yeah, kill this guy. I don't care. I'll just possess somebody else. And Sabrina, you know, with her morality, she's like, I can't kill him now that I know he's in here because he was possessed for all the crimes he did. And I'm like, Sabrina, you can bring somebody back from the dead, but you have a problem killing? Like, here you go, Sabrina. You don't like that taste of accountability. And then, of course, Sabrina asks the guy, did the demon compel you to kill those people? Sabrina. But the demon's like, bitch, since you won't kill him, I will. And he just twists his head like a bottle pop, like, bloop. Now Sabrina has to confront the demon. But then the closer Sabrina gets to the demon, he's like, you look familiar. You're a Spellman, aren't you? And because he knows Sabrina's father, Edward. And Sabrina like, nah, say, well, no. What you know about my father, Edward Spellman? And then he's like, your father's a legendary conjurer. Everybody on a demon plane pretty much know who he is. And he's like, what is your name? And remember, once a demon knows your name, Names hold strength. So he's like, is it Tabitha, Samantha, Madison? Like, honey, which 101? Never let them hold power with your name. And then inspiration strikes and he remembers. He said Sabrina Diana Fiona Spellman. Fiona, y'all could have did without that. I know she's a witch, but goddamn, that's ugly. And he's like, you should not have come here because now we got issues. We are officially caught up on the chilling adventures of Sabrina. Now, until Halloween, I will have another series that I'm going to do, but this one is going to go a lot faster. And don't worry, as the new issues of the chilling adventures Sabrina come out, I will review those and put those up for you. So this series really is never really ending.